Yo, what is going on, Patriots peeps? It is I, your science guy, your full-time scientist, fuller-time sports fan, here with my guy Aiden. We're here for another off-season episode of the Gillette Gazette, and tried a little experiment and cut the countdown down at 15 because I know this TikTok generation can't withstand waiting for more than 15 seconds. I hear you. TikTok is back, so I'll stick to TikTok style and keep the countdown short. But it's we were worried about the off season being a bit of a boring time, but it's actually been quite spicy these last 2 weeks.
Sorry,
big
what?
News today: Josh McDaniels hired as the Patriots offensive coordinator. What were your initial thoughts?
I'm very excited. It's a good day. This was after the whole Ben Johnson thing. Obviously, we're going to get him. We hired Vrabel instead. I'm like, okay, the next thing we got to do is just bring back Josh McDaniels, who he's had a lot of success in New England as just an offensive coordinator, and kind of just, I don't know, lost his job just due to his inability to coach an actual team as like a head coach. But he's been a really good offensive coordinator for a number of years, and I'm really glad he's back in New England. Hopefully, just to help develop Drake May.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from the quarterback side, Drake May got good development from Alex Van Pelt. He just didn't have the play calling chops that were needed. But you add Josh McDaniels in there, hopefully he won't miss a beat in terms of the development. We saw what McDaniels did with Mac Jones, and shout out to us. We've been calling this for weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as you said, like looking at his pedigree, he's had a lot of roles on a lot of teams. Most of his time in New England, but where he's really been successful is as an offensive coordinator, a play caller.
Mm-hmm.
As well as a quarterback's coach. You're getting the same skill set that you're getting from Van Pelt, but likely with a lot more refinement and proven pedigree. Mm-hmm. Where it hasn't worked for him is at head coach, both times that he's tried. And hopefully he won't try again.
I think just such a big thing, like a key thing is it's relatively like low risk, high reward. With just like, okay, we've seen him do it for years with Brady, and then we even saw him do it Mac Jones rookie year, which was like he got to the Pro Bowl and like had a really good like rookie season, and now he has a young player who's way more talented than Mac was and is. So there's a lot of reason to be excited about this because we've seen him do it. And he's done it in New England, so there's no reason why he can't do it again.
Yeah, which is wild. I have a little trivia for you. It's something I just found out. What was McDaniels' first position as a Patriot?
Because he coached?
Yeah.
I don't know. Special teams? I don't know.
He was a defensive coaching assistant. Working with the defensive backs. He switched from that to being a quarterback's coach.
Wild.
It is wild. But it's interesting. You like it felt like McDaniels had a way of confusing the defenses with the way that he called offense. And I think part of that comes from the fact that he had a couple of years of being able to understand what defenses find predictable.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, defense has been far from his focal point, but that is kind of his coaching style, confusing the defense, throwing different looks at them, but still having a cohesive strategy, doing a lot of pre-snap movement, really not letting defenses know what's coming their way at any given moment. New England offenses were always difficult to predict, but still well-oiled. And obviously a lot of that has to do with Brady, but let's not forget that like some of the best years of New England offense was with McDaniels at the helm.
Right.
including a good year of Mac Jones. From a style perspective, what do you think about the hire? Where do you think he fits in with the personnel we have, the personnel we're trying to get? Drake May.
Personnel, or like, I guess it seems like he's a perfect fit, considering like Vrabel has at least familiarity with him. I don't think they've ever coached together. I want to say McDaniels coached probably on like the later end of Vrabel's career. I think there was some sort of overlap they've had, but just the kind of reestablishing this new age / old age like Patriot way. Like obviously Belichick's out, but it's like no, we're gonna get some guys who we know have like some they're used to how the Patriots are run, and they're good. I don't know, just it's this weird like we can't be playing how Bills always played, but at the same time we need some guys who have done it before for New England. So I think he fits in a weird way, fits in with like the old regime, but also I think can adapt well and to be like a good head coach or a good offensive coordinator for like this new team we're building. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, you can make the argument that, oh, why are you going back to something that's kind of been done a lot in New England? But if like any offensive coordinator that I could think of that is either at the same level or better than Josh McDaniels is either firmly tethered to their team or getting sought out for head coaching positions.
Mm-hmm.
And McDaniels somehow is still on the market because people continue to overread into his performance as a head coach, and we, New England knows better than to do that. And when he's an offensive coordinator, people overly look into that and then try to hire him as a head coach. It's a vicious cycle, but it's one that ended with us. Let's remember he was the last coordinator that worked here.
Mm-hmm.
We've had now. I was gonna 4 offensive coordinators. Yeah. This is our 4th offensive coordinator hire in 4 years, but at least it's not a line. It's a cycle.
Right. Well, hopefully the
continue that
ends
cycle by hiring. Yeah. Let's not continue the cycle by hiring Matt Patricia as offensive coordinator next year. But I think one doubt that comes to mind when I think about McDaniels is that this is really only his second time working with a mobile quarterback. You got all those years with Brady, and then you had Mac, you had Kyle Orton in Denver, Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, like mostly pocket passers. And then the 1 year that he has worked with a dual threat quarterback in Cam Newton, it was a little bit rocky. It was on and off. Towards the end of the season, more off than on. And so you're bringing him in. He's working with another dual threat quarterback, this time a young dual threat quarterback. What are your thoughts on his ability to incorporate Drake's skill sets?
I never really actually see that or have seen that or thought of it to be a problem. Just kind of looking at May, it's like I think I would for sure consider Cam Newton a dual threat. I don't know if I would consider May as much of a dual threat. That not because he's incapable, but just kind of like his play style is. I think he'd much rather throw the ball downfield and like push the ball down the field than he would run it. But he for sure has the ability to. So I don't know if it's going to be like he feels like he has to incorporate some sort of like running scheme to get him going as much as like I don't know. I don't think he'll have to change the playbook as much. That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah. No, I was thinking the same. Like the more and more I thought about this, with Newton, it was that running was kind of a crutch towards the end of his career. This wasn't
Mhm.
2015 Newton. His arm had significantly declined in terms of accuracy, power, all that stuff. And so he had all this experience and he had all this pedigree, but his arm was actually not anywhere near what the Cam Newton we had come to know.
Mhm.
Drake May's arm is extremely strong. He runs in intelligent ways. When running is more of a elective choice rather than a I'm not sure what to do about the arm, so let's just have him run the ball.
Mhm.
There's a lot more creativity you can do there. And also when Cam Newton was actually throwing accurately in like the first 3 weeks of the season, McDaniels used him really well. And something, after his COVID hiatus, he just declined significantly in
Mhm.
terms of his arm accuracy, and that's where things started declining. And so, provided that Drake May continues to give you the option to do both, I see the dual threat as nothing but a plus.
Mhm.
Um, so with McDaniels here, do you think there are any changes that we should do in terms of our offseason strategy as far as personnel, like players and things like that? Or do you think similar to what we would have done no matter who the offensive coordinator was?
I think it's pretty similar to what we should have done. It's like it's pretty simple. You've got a star quarterback in the making. You need to surround him with talent to see what he can do. But I mean, yeah, him coming doesn't change the fact that like we have a lot of holes in a lot of different places that we have to fill.
Yeah, yeah, fully agreed. One thing that does come to mind here, I know that McDaniel's uses a lot of gap scheme rather than zone scheme. Um, Gap scheme requires really good individual offensive linemen. Not that what we had last year worked by any means,
Uh-huh.
but for McDaniel's style, it's all the more important to have guys who can win their individual matchups. Ben Brown, Dramontre Jacobs, football, Michael Jordan. These are not going to work. Um, but to be fair, they were never going to work.
No.
Um, so I think that the impetus becomes a little bit higher to get really good offensive linemen. McDaniel's offenses were able to thrive without maybe the most spectacular playmakers, but just really, really good, solid guys.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm not even sure we have that yet. But it's just a reminder with the schemes that he tries to run that protecting the quarterback and providing and finding gaps, like that still is the way that football is played. Definitely in McDaniels' style, very much a he's very much a trenches build up a drive, not like he's aggressive, but he has that kind of maturity and that like collectedness to the patience to go 13 plays 85 yards down the field. And
Mm-hmm.
so you need good offensive linemen to execute those kinds of drives on a regular basis.
For sure.
Is there anything that worries you about McDaniels? Is there any drawback that you see?
I mean, no. I mean, I don't know if I'm too worried. I'm sure there's I guess there is a world where this doesn't work out, but I don't know if I can really pinpoint any reason to be like, oh, I don't know about this. Like, what if he's just randomly just doesn't have it? It's like, I don't know. He's been a good offensive coordinator for like quite some time. And he's proven even after like his first head coaching stint with the Broncos that didn't really go well and then came back to New England, that's like, oh, like he's still good. And then you're like, oh, well, maybe it was just Brady. And it's like, no, like that offense that we had Max rookie year, that 2021 offense, like doesn't really have a lot of good players, and yet like still took us to the playoffs with like a pretty iffy offense.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so I don't know if I don't know if I have too many like concerns or reason to be like hesitant about the potential success he could bring to New England again.
No, no, no. From a coordinating perspective, I definitely don't have any worries either. I think I like the fact that we now hired a seasoned offensive coordinator makes me more okay with the fact that we hired a defensive minded head coach. But Belichick was it was when Belichick started getting his hands on the offense where things started getting rough, and Belichick had to start getting his hands on the offense because he no longer had his right hand man. I think the one thing that worries me with McDaniels is that kind of towards the end of his time as a Raider, he started losing the locker room. There was a lot of word that he wasn't the best motivator, but it worries me less in this role. I feel like he doesn't have to be a amazing locker room guy. I think he needs to learn from his time in Vegas and become more of a player's coach. But I also think that with a guy like Vrabel, who does have such solid command of the locker room, there's less onus on the coordinators to fill in.
Right, and I think that's what he'll do best as. Like some guys just aren't like, not that they can't lead, but just don't have that. So you need a definitely a certain personality and like, I don't know, some sort of, I guess, aura to you, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Maybe he just doesn't have it, but it's like he knows football and he knows the offense. And if Vrabel can be like that locker room guy, then it's like maybe this could be a really good like match.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think when it comes to him, he's probably going to feel a lot more comfort in Foxborough than he did in Vegas. That was this is an environment he's been familiar with. Obviously, a lot of new guys, but I also think that without the pressure of head coaching, it changes things. This is the role that he's comfortable with. I think you'll see a different person in that stage. And let's also remember things were not things were not bad until the Raiders started losing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and to be fair, they were never winning a ton under him. But I think any franchise that has struggles and isn't seeing an upward trajectory over time is going to have some locker room issues. I mean, we certainly did towards the end of Belichick's time. We certainly did towards throughout Mayo's season. So it's understandable. And again, it's one of those things where it's all the more reason that this is the right role for him.
Mm-hmm.
Other than offensive coordinator, word is that the Patriots are considering hiring Terrell Williams as their defensive coordinator. I don't know exactly what the status is with DeMarcus Covington, but he's still on the staff. But there continues to be word of the Patriots interviewing or at least considering different defensive coordinator candidates. So, I mean, first of all, do you think DeMarcus Covington is done here, and do you think if he is, then that's the right call?
I couldn't tell you. I've heard a lot of rumors about him going out, and like, I don't know if I kind of like the idea of cleaning, like just kind of fresh restart. I don't know if he necessarily did very much last year to like kind of want me to keep him. But if Vrabel, who's like a defensive-minded guy, like has his guys, I think that'd be much better for our team. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Was Covington our DC for a while? I can't remember.
No, I mean Mayo was our DC before him, but Covington's been on the staff for a little bit.
Okay.
I think Covington was the defensive line coach before um, becoming our DC. Also, it's one of those things when you have a defensive-minded head coach, and I said the same thing about Mayo, but in a defense is playing well kind of way. But in this case, it was defense wasn't so great. But it's hard to tell how much the defensive coordinator is actually doing when you have a defensive-minded head coach.
Right.
We thought Mayo was a defensive genius because of his last couple years with the Patriots, but in hindsight, I mean, if you have Belichick, you don't have to do a lot of thinking as defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
We got a comment from JC. Pat's getting McDaniels back and pairing him with May. I don't think the league is aware of how dangerous this could be. Well, I like the optimism, and I agree. I think people look at the last few years and they chalk it up to just, oh well, this team is nothing without Brady. But there was so much more going on.
Mm-hmm.
There was the tumult at offensive coordinator year after year. There was the departure of Dante Scarnecchia since when the offensive line has not been any good. A lot of things happened at the same time. Now you bring back that franchise quarterback. I'm not saying May is Brady because Brady can't run as fast. So he's better, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not Brady, but it is a guy that we know has the locker room. We know has a command in the pocket, is aggressive, has played really well week in and week out for us. Someone we can reasonably trust as a franchise guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the quarterback who has only worked with franchise guys or prospective franchise guys.
Mm-hmm.
You had the guy who made one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL look like a franchise guy for a year. So, and again, I maintain this: if McDaniels had stayed, who knows? We might be talking about Mac Jones as a solid franchise quarterback.
He could have been a Super Bowl MVP by now. Who knows?
Yeah. But I think it's dangerous. When you look at what McDaniels has done in the past with this team, you look at kind of the reasons why they weren't playing so well over the last few seasons, and you look at just the mistakes, the penalties, the lack of fundamentals on the offensive side. McDaniels is a no nonsense guy when it comes to things like that. You've got a head coach who's known for tightening the screws. You have an offensive coordinator who's known for tightening the screws. All of a sudden, you're not going to see holdings every 3 plays or 2 holdings in a row on a 1st and goal to take them out of any reasonable scoring range, or a holding that'll take Joey Sly out of his 35-yard field goal range.
Okay.
I mean, like moments like what cost us games against the Colts, the Seahawks, like these critical things.
Mm-hmm.
We're hopefully not going to be seeing nearly as much of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we made the hire early. He's going to have a full offseason to work with these guys. I think it's definitely a good thing for the team.
Right.
But on the defensive coordinator front, I think we had left off talking about Covington. I felt like the defense dropped off, and part of it's the personnel. You lost Judon. That was a big thing. Barmore was injured for a lot of the. But I also felt like the defense was making uncharacteristic mistakes.
Right.
I think pairing Vrabel with a good defensive coordinator.
Oh, sorry, you were cutting in and out, or maybe I was.
Some technical difficulties with my Wi-Fi. Apartment has been buggy,
Oh no.
but we're back. Just figured that y'all need a drink of water or some kind of rest. So this was the 15 seconds we left off the countdown. We put them back here in the middle. But I think this could be an interesting hire if they end up doing it. Terrell Williams I don't know much about his style, but I know that he has a lot of experience.
Mm-hmm.
6 college coaching jobs, all on the defensive line, and then 5 NFL coaching jobs, all on the defensive line. It's safe to say that if we hire him, our defensive line might be playing pretty well. He clearly knows his way around the defensive line. So it would be an interesting hire. I have to look more into what his coaching style is. I'm curious if there are any other names that come to your mind that you might like better.
For a defensive line?
Or defensive coordinator.
I don't know if I've really even looked into it that much. I think I was just really mainly worried about who we were going to hire as our offensive coordinator. I mean, I have heard a lot of rumors cycling that Vrabel is just looking for a lot of his handpicked guys, and it really hasn't been leaked as to who those guys are, except for I guess Williams.
Yeah. There's another name, Ryan Crow, Miami Dolphins outside linebackers coach. Could be interesting. Dolphins had decent linebacker play.
Well, if we got Flores back,
that would be fantastic, honestly.
Just all the old Patriots greats.
Yep. And then the last one that needs to come back is Tom Brady himself.
Right.
To back up Drake May.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He can give a veteran's advice from the bench.
And N'Keal Harry. We need N'Keal Harry back also. Be our receivers coach.
Before we made the McDaniels hire, I was wondering whether it would be a breach of his terms at Fox or Vegas if Brady were to become the offensive coordinator. But I imagine it would be a problem.
It has to be.
His 2 other jobs.
Right.
Can you be the coach of one team while you're part owner of the other? I don't think so.
Probably. I don't know.
Sounds like a conflict of interest to me.
There's some sort of clause in his contract that states you can't do that.
Here's what he should do.
One can dream.
He should sell part of his ownership. He should sell his ownership stake with the Raiders, become part owner of the Patriots, and become our new quarterbacks coach.
That'd be awesome.
Bring back everyone. Gronk is the tight ends coach. Edelman is the receivers coach.
Yeah. Rodney Harrison's the safeties coach, not even the DBs coach, just the safeties coach.
Yes. Then who would be the DBs coach?
Malcolm Butler.
I was gonna say the only other name that was coming to mind was Asante Samuel, and I'm like, nope.
Ty Law.
Yeah. There we go. Vince Wilfork, defensive line coach. Richard Seymour.
Oh, yeah, Vince Wilfork can just be the D tackles.
Yeah, there we go. We'll hire a coach for every position, and it will just be whoever played that position during the dynasty.
Exactly, that'd be awesome.
Fullbacks coach.
James Devlin.
Ah, yes, James Devlin.
It's gotta be James Devlin.
We'll have a conventional running backs coach. Who were our running backs during the diet? There were a lot. Who's the best of the bunch?
Probably Blunt.
I think if we're talking
Or
coaching
Woodward.
acumen, though,
Huh?
James White.
James
That
White.
could be interesting. Honestly, James White is running backs coach. That one I'm a little serious about. Blunt, I'm not sure has the brain for coaching.
I think he's running his own like THC business right now too. So
Yeah, he's staying true to his last name.
right, it's a good marketing ploy.
Jonas Gray, his first rule would be that you don't have to be late to, or you're allowed to show up as late as you want to practice.
Mike Gillisley's there to help.
Mm. Maybe a little Dion Lewis in there.
Oh,
We'll move on to a fun segment because I honestly can't. I don't know how much more I can talk about Terrell Williams, given that I don't actually know all that much about him.
I know.
But who was your favorite, like, unsung Patriot of the Dynasty era? Like someone that, and choose an offensive player and a defensive player. Someone that you probably didn't get talked about a lot when you have a conversation, like when sportscasters talk about the Patriots dynasty, or you see a documentary like this, a name that probably didn't come up a lot, but was an underratedly great Patriot.
What era of the dynasty are we talking about? Like what?
That is true. We had an early dynasty,
early or late dynasty.
Let's do one for the 2001 through 4 Super Bowls, and then another for the 2014 through 18 Super Bowls.
Let me think. The old guys, it might be a little harder for me because I was pretty young. But like an old unsung hero, I don't really know if he was an unsung hero because I feel like our defense was really good those like early years.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's definitely not like he's a nobody, but I don't know if he gets as much hype as he should, but like Teddy Bruschi was like the guy. He was so cool, and he was like just soft spot in my heart because like my uncle is like the one who got me to be a huge Patriots fan, and he was just a huge Bruschi guy.
I feel like a lot of people know Bruschi more so as an analyst these days, and probably don't remember just how much of a force he was.
Yeah.
On defense.
But yeah, to name like an unsung like guy that not a lot of people know about that I'm like, oh, I like this guy. Like that's kind of tough in those earlier years for me because I feel like everybody was pretty dang good.
Yeah.
Maybe
I'm gonna say Matt Light. 2001 to 2012, he was there for the dynasty and all the initial Super Bowls. He was there for what I would call the almost there dynasty, where we kept making the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl and kept not winning. But it's unbelievably solid offensive tackle year in and year out. I think of him extra nowadays because I just miss that era where the Patriots had these unfallible offensive linemen.
Yeah, our offensive line was so good those years.
And I think and again, like we said earlier in the pod, it's going to be critical for the offensive line to get back to this level. Like Matt Light is not, Matt Light doesn't have golden jacket. Yes, golden jacket. It's not the Masters. It's the Hall of Fame.
Not the green.
He has He does not have a golden jacket, and he's not a Patriots Hall of Famer either. Yet, I just associate him with solid play and excellence, and that was what the Patriots were about at the time. You didn't have the world beaters. You didn't. These are players that probably wouldn't even succeed very much on other franchises.
Right.
Patriots had a ton of those. But he was a Patriot through and through. 11 years in the NFL, all of them as a starter on the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
What more can you ask for from a guy? He is in the Patriots Hall of Fame. Good for him. He deserves it. He played 155 games and started 153 of them.
Jeez.
That's insane. And let's go New Dynasty.
New Dynasty. How deep are we trying to get here? Is it like guys
like not Brady Edelman Gronk. Like
all right, I don't know if this one will qualify, but I think we've talked about him before, and like it'd be awesome to have him. He his career was cut short due to injuries, but for a while there, I loved Malcolm Mitchell, the way he played. He was like starting to like really build a solid connection with Brady, and then I think he just had like one too many just knee blow ups. But I mean, I can't remember if he played in the Super Bowl or if when he was still playing, it was like we made some of those AFC championship runs.
No, he played in at least one Super Bowl. I want to say he played in the Falcons Super Bowl, but I can't remember for sure.
Okay.
Super Bowl 51. He played in the Falcons Super Bowl. That was actually my pick.
Really?
So I'm gonna go with another guy who kind of goes in the same bracket for me. Chris Hogan. I feel like he was one of the unsung white mamas on the team. But like just again, not a world beater, not crazy speed, not a guy that was going to go up and catch 50-50 balls against the NFL's best cornerbacks, nor is he someone that's going to outrun the fastest guys, but just someone who knew how to run routes and had very reliable hands, and someone that quarterbacks like to go to a lot because he was very, you kind of knew where he was going to be on the field. He played his role to perfection. He was smart before and after the catch.
Mm-hmm.
And just put up generally good numbers. And again, a player that just didn't know how to play very well outside of New England. We had we had so many of those, but he was a system fit. That was something that was so characteristic of the Belichick McDaniels era. Mm-hmm. You had players that we don't know about outside of New England, but they fit as a Patriot in the role that they were put in. And while I think it's very important for the Patriots to find a true number one receiver, I think it's also important for players to start finding their identity and role in the team. And stability at offensive coordinator is going to help us do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then who was the brightest spot of what I'm going to call the anti-dynasty, which is everything after Brady left to last year. And I'm going to say you cannot go with Drake May.
Ooh, brightest spot? Well, it's hard because I feel like we're just still rebuilding. And I don't want to go like, oh, yeah, Christian Barmore or just like these.
I mean, that's a pretty good pick.
I guess Gonzalez.
You have to go with You have to go with one of our good players because
I gotta go Gonzalez then. I think Barmore is awesome, but I think the two cornerstones we had to build around is Gonzalez and May. And it's like, yeah, it's really important to have like a run stuffer, but like, man, to be able to like shut down an offense's like top receiver is huge. Like the rest of our defense really sucked, but Gonzo was like the man. Like he played so well. I don't think a lot of people realize how like he played among like the league's best. I'd say he's elite. And it's like a lot of people just don't realize that because the rest of our team was so bad. Like
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think him. I was when we drafted him, I was so excited because remember we kept trading back, and I was like, he's the one guy I wanted. It's like we need this guy, and then Washington trades up or whatever. I'm like, well, there he goes, and then they take Forbes, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Belichick's I'm like
My
Belichick's the man. Like he traded back and he gets Gonzalez. Like this is awesome.
my favorite thing about that trade was that the Jets desperately needed a really good tackle, and there was a guy named Broderick Jones that was available at 14 where we were originally there. We traded with the Steelers, and the
Yeah,
Steelers picked Broderick Jones.
right,
And I was like, I don't know if this was part of the reasoning that you made this trade, Belichick, but if it was, then phenomenal.
right. But
Because
yeah,
the Jets' offensive line was really bad that year.
it still is, which is really
It
sad.
still is.
But yeah, I gotta go Gonzalez, and I mean, honestly, in that class too, he was like my top cornerback pick.
I'm going to go with someone who's not currently a Patriot, Matt Judon.
Ooh. Mhm.
When you look at like someone who still bought in, someone who competed week in and week out when the fans had already given up, and someone who brought like positivity to the field, to the locker room, also mentorship to the younger defensive players. Like I think the Judon effect is still kind of there, even though he isn't there as a player. As corny as that sounds, like I think he kept spirits up when really needed for the fan base, for the players, and obviously just a world beater of a defensive lineman. Just knew how to use his power, knew how to use his speed and agility. Simply knew how to get to the quarterback.
Mhm.
Awesome player. I think I have to imagine the year that one of the reasons that we saw such a drastic improvement in Keon White from year 1 to year 2 is Judon. And so for all those reasons, I've got to go with Judon.
No, that's a fair pick. I miss Judon from like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm glad we don't have the Judon that is playing today.
Yeah. The Bailey Zappi was a close second.
Was he?
Yeah.
Chad Ryland was the other guy I was thinking of.
Yes. The Tank Commander, man. This is
All
this is
hail.
why we have May. I like the
All hail
pick.
the Tank Commander.
Of course, clearly the best player on the team, Bryce Behringer, was not eligible for this because, like, he would be a Hall of Famer. They should make a special exception and make him a Hall of Famer now.
He needs to be part of the Madden 99 club this next year.
Oh yes,
Actually, he needs to be the only one in the Madden 100 club.
Oh, they got to go above. I don't even think 100-point scale is enough. He's got to be the. Oh, imagine if a punter made the cover of Madden. That would be something.
It's like a picture of him like with his whole hand like in his mouth that he always does before he kicks it.
Yes, there we go. Yes, who was your least favorite player of the anti-dynasty? The one that made you the most infuriated. It could be a Patriot now, doesn't have to be.
Jeez, that's really hard. I feel like I had so many players I loved and so many players I hated. Do you have one off the top of your head so I can think a little bit?
Yeah. N'Keal Harry.
Yeah.
It's almost a little too obvious. I mean, first of all, what we gave up to take him, the fact that AJ Brown or DK Metcalf or Deebo Samuel could have been a Patriot and that number one wide receiver that we're so desperately looking for right now. And then there was the fact that his play was just terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Guy couldn't catch, guy couldn't run a route. When the ball did come his way, he would often drop it. And our assessment of him was proven every team he went to. He's not found success anywhere. Although it's hard to be angry at N'Keal Harry for that to an extent. I'm partially angry at Harry and partially angry at the guy who thought that the guy who had N'Keal Harry ahead of those three guys.
Debo, DK, and AJ Brown.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I should look at their RASs because that seems to be like Belichick loves that metric, relative athletic score. Maybe his was higher.
I don't think he was. There's because DK ran like in the 4.3s or 4.4s. Like DK was a freak.
DK Metcalf was running those speeds at his size. I mean, he had the ability to be the receiver that would beat you at speed and power.
Right.
Samuel just had so much he could add in terms of you never really knew what he was going to do. He could be used in any way possible in the offense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for both his play and for what that pick cost us, because if AJ Brown had been the pick there, or if DK Metcalf had been the pick there, I don't know that Brady leaves. If those players played like they did in their first years in New England, because it was partially deterioration at the wide receiver position why he left. Between that and I'm not going to blame the player for this, but between that and trading a second for Mohamed Sanu, I think those two moves were part of the reason that Brady left after that year.
Mm-hmm.
Who's yours?
I think Cole Strange is up there. I think Cole Strange and like Isaiah Wynn.
Okay, so both offensive line first round picks.
Just like, are you kidding me? Like those guys, like I get there's a high probability that some of these guys just don't work out, but it's like I don't even think Wynn like hardly sniffed the field if I remember correctly. I want to say there's a lot of injuries he was battling.
He played a fair bit in Mac Jones's first and second years, but he wasn't good.
Yeah.
It was after he left that we started the roulette at right tackle.
And I think what makes me so like infuriated about that pick was I'm pretty sure that was the same draft class Lamar was in there.
You imagine.
And it's like, yeah, we got Drake now, which is awesome, but it's like I'm pretty sure we passed on Lamar for Isaiah Wynn. And it's like anybody who's not a Patriots fan is like, who's that guy?
Can you imagine banking Lamar for a couple years and then once Brady's left, we're just like, all right, no big deal. Put out Lamar.
Me being a kid, I was just like, I want Lamar so bad. He's so cool. And it's like, oh, now I'm like an adult. I'm like, yeah, he is cool. And he's.
Yeah. I think I was in the delusion of like, oh, Brady's never going to leave. Why would we draft another quarterback?
Yeah.
Or I was like, he's never going to leave. He's never going to retire. And
he's only 38. Like, what are we looking for a quarterback for?
Well, what I was like, whoever our next quarterback is someone we're going to draft and is going to be thoroughly mentored by Brady into greatness, which, like, I didn't realize Brady was going to last so long, so I thought that was going to be Garoppolo, but then Brady just kept on playing.
Mm-hmm.
If we had drafted that Garoppolo equivalent earlier, maybe Jackson, because that was the time to do it. I don't know, man.
Do you have any like quarterbacks that you loved? You would love to be like the heir to Brady or like be drafted that just didn't pan out?
Well, like, who was your one that I knew that was never going to happen, but like just objectively one of my favorite quarterbacks, and obviously this is partially stemming from the fact that I'm an OU fan, but
Baker.
boy, I would have loved to see Baker
Mhm.
on the Patriots. I think that would have been fun. And I think Brady would have been the perfect guy to kind of get him to mature up. No, it seems like he's done that on his own.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that would have taken less time if, like, you can preserve like Baker's, his desire to have fun on the field, but also take away the lewd gestures on the field and things like that. That Lincoln Riley didn't really do a good job of getting him out of.
Mm-hmm.
But electric quarterback and like just he had a penchant for the big moment. He seemed to love being down in games. That's when he would come up with his best football. And so there were elements of that like clutch gene that reminded me a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
Brady, but with maybe a lot less of the football IQ. But he was also mobile. Like you allow him to kind of learn from Brady for a couple years, and then put him in there. That's really interesting. Because Mayfield was really good from the get-go. Imagine what he could have done with a couple of years of really good mentorship.
Right. Just to mature a little bit.
So that's probably what I would have really, really loved.
Sure.
Do you have any other than Lamar that?
Well, I mean, aside from the obvious, this guy first rounders, I had a couple of just gross names that I liked. I'd be like, oh, he could be a potential mid to late round pick. But one that popped in my head was do you remember Luke Falk from Washington State?
Oh yeah.
I was a big Luke Falk guy. For be oh, he'd be a nice 5th, 6th, 7th rounder. And for whatever reason, when I was younger too, I really liked Kyle Lauletta from Richmond. I don't know why. I always thought he could spin it. I don't know if you remember him or not.
No, I not really. Wasn't much of a Spiders fan.
I wasn't either. I just remember looking at the names, and just looking, just watching the guys. For whatever reason, I thought he was good, but maybe that was just me being young and just being oh, he throws a pretty spiral. I don't know, but Luke Falk was one that I thought would be he could be I just thought he was just an accurate, just good pocket passer. But I mean, obviously, he's not good because he's not in the league.
I think another quarterback for me, Case Keenum, when he was just going absolutely crazy in college. I think there was he had a 7 touchdown game.
Yeah, he was absurd. Is he the all-time collegiate passing leader or something?
Most career passing yards, most career passing touchdowns, most career pass completions, most games. Get this. 39 games with 300 passing yards. 14 in a season, which is also a record.
Where was he? Houston?
Yeah.
He was so good.
That's insane. And at that time I didn't have the foresight about how good college stats don't always translate into NFL play. So I was like, why isn't everybody clamoring to take him number 1? I don't understand what's going on. But I mean, he was a pretty serviceable backup at times in the NFL. And didn't he make a NFC Championship game? Am I making that up?
No, yeah, he did with Minnesota. They beat the Saints.
Yeah, the miracle.
Yeah.
Which goes to show you what even an average quarterback can do with a player like Stephon Diggs to throw to.
Right.
So imagine what Drake May could do.
Everything comes Diggs.
Yeah, I was very much buying the Case Keenum hype. I was like, and at that time, Brady was what I thought was old in the NFL. I didn't realize he had
7 more
literally
years or whatever.
like 12 more years in him. So I was like, all right, let's get this guy, get Brady to mentor him for a little bit, and then we'll take over.
Right.
Because at that time, I didn't think it was possible for you to play well into your 40s.
Right. Case Keenum.
I like off-season podcasts. We started with Josh McDaniels, and now we're on Case Keenum.
I think a fun segment would be just like we just talk about obsessions we had with players we want to be Patriots.
Yeah,
that you were right about, like that were going to be good, and then that you were like incredibly wrong about.
that would be a fun segment. Gotta come up with some more interesting off-season segments like that. I think we had a good couple. And for the fans, let us know what you thought. Who was your favorite player of both dynasty eras and the anti-dynasty? Which player infuriated you the most? Let us know in the comments, and let us know what kind of segments you would like for us to have next week. But until then, we're the Gillette Gazette. See you.